I'm going to say something that might sound slightly hypocritical considering I'm saying it on YouTube. Turning your hobbies into content is usually a terrible idea, and I learnt that the hard way. For a while, reading stopped feeling like reading and started feeling like I was preparing for an exam, and the internet was the grader. Every book needed an opinion, every opinion needed a video, every video needed approval, and eventually I realised something slightly embarrassing. I wasn't reading books anymore, I was producing reading content, which is a very different hobby. Let's start with a really uncomfortable confession. For a long time, I accidentally turned reading into a performance review. All I was missing was a tutu. And I don't think it was intentional. And I don't even remember thinking about it, it just kind of happened. But because what happens when you take your hobbies online and place it on the internet, and it's where numbers live, views, comments, likes, little red notification bubble telling you whether the internet approves of you today. And slowly, something that used to be really quiet became public. Something that used to belong to you becomes content. And that's where it kind of got weird for me, and I think it's got weird for a lot of people I've spoken to. I'm Darth James, welcome to this episode. You can like, sub, tell me what you think. That all goes a long way, and if you want exclusive episodes, podcasts, written work, check out my Substack, check out my Patreon and channel memberships. And if you want to buy me a coffee, I'm not turning down coffee. Coffee exists for a reason. It keeps me caffeinated. Because of ADHD, caffeine helps me sleep. So, unhealthy. Let's be real. Okay. I think if you've been watching this channel for a while, you probably noticed something. I don't talk about every book I read. In fact, most of the books I read never appear on this channel at all. Not anymore. There's nothing accidental about that. That's a hard choice. That's a boundary. Because there was a time when reading stopped being something I did for myself and started feeling like a performance review for Goodreads comments attached. Deleted Goodreads too because I had enough of it for this reason. Every book becomes a potential video. Every reading experience becomes something you need to have a take on. Was it good enough to talk about? Was it interesting enough? Would people care? Which is a deeply strange way to experience a hobby. Imagine sitting down with a novel and your brain quietly whispering, okay, but what's the thumbnail? That's not reading, that's content farming with a bookmark and a notebook. And it took me way too long to realise that. Here's the thing about the internet. It wants everything. Every interest, every opinion, every tiny moment of your life, your hobbies, your routines, your morning coffee, your bookshelf, your desk setup, your camera bag. Especially lately with the whole trend of going analog, I picked up on this. You've probably seen the videos. People making beautifully shot content about their analog lives. Their notebooks, their cameras, their MP3 players, their video game, whatever. An analog bag. That's the word. And it was a bag full of perfectly arranged analog things that were filmed on a high-end digital camera, edited on a MacBook and uploaded to the internet and monetized. Which is weird when you think about it. Buying new objects so you can film a video about escaping the internet. It's a really strange loop. And I think a lot of that content kind of just killed the analog trend. I think people got excited. And I think the dopamine cycle kicked in because approval on the internet. And I'm going to say this. I say that really affectionately because I've absolutely done versions of this to myself. Creators are very good at accidentally turning life into props. Hi. I can do a self-own. And I think it's part of a dopamine cycle. And by the way, when I say dopamine cycle, I don't mean like you see it in like these podcast bro things. The internet is destroying us. No, it's just the structure of the platforms. You post something, you get feedback, views, likes, comments. Your brain registers it, and slowly your behaviour starts adjusting around the feedback. You start noticing what performs really well. You start noticing what people respond to. You start noticing what the algorithm seems to like. And then, without really consciously deciding on it, by the way, I think a lot of this is subconscious. Your brain starts asking, what kind of version of this hobby performs well? Not the hobby itself. The performance version of a hobby. The version that works online. I think this hits much harder in book spaces. Because once you start making reading part of your online identity, something strange happens. You become the reader, and suddenly there's this really strange expectation floating around that you should have an opinion on everything. Every new release, every controversy, every adaptation, every reading trend. People start associating you with the hobby itself, which, won't lie, is oddly flattering until it isn't. Because for me, reading quietly, privately, slowly, without commentary, became a thing. It wasn't a thing anymore. And you start feeling like you're not doing your job properly if you're doing that. Even though reading was never supposed to be a job in the first place. I'm so glad I'm not a full-time content creator. I'm so glad I have a day job. There was a period on this channel where I just stopped making videos about books entirely, more or less. Some of you probably remember that. I cringe about it too, so don't worry. And it wasn't because I stopped reading, it was the opposite. I wanted reading to feel like mine again. No camera, no opinion forming in real time. No mental notes about how chapters work in a video, just reading. Which is a really, and I hate this word, radical concept on the internet. Doing something without documenting it. You don't need to document everything. And I'm fully aware of the irony here, because I'm saying this in a YouTube video, which I'm filming on a microphone, and I'm going to be putting together and editing on my MacBook, or my iMac. Don't know yet, whichever room I'm in at the time. But I do think it needs to be said more often in creator spaces. Not everything needs to be content. Some things can just exist in your life without it being packaged for public dissection. You can go fishing without filming it. I've never filmed myself fishing or hunting or doing any of my main hobbies, except for private stuff. You can read a book without reviewing it. You can collect something without explaining it to an audience. You can have hobbies that never touch the internet at all, and honestly, that separation is incredibly healthy. There is no if, buts, and maybes there. I think it's the healthiest thing you can do. Now I keep this really strict line between my real life hobbies and things I talk about online. And it's not because you guys or the audience is bad, by the way. And I don't think sharing things online is bad. But because I know what happens to my brain when that line disappears, and I've already seen that version of myself. That version trying too hard, that version performing, that version looking for approval, and honestly, I don't recognise that guy very much anymore. He's retired somewhere. The bald book geek is retired somewhere. He's on an island. Probably dissecting something, because he's been told he should. But here's the truth about turning hobbies into content. Sometimes it works. Some people build amazing careers around this. But a lot of the time, people slowly lose the thing they originally loved. And it's gradual. A little bit less fun, a little bit more pressure, a little bit more awareness of the camera that isn't even turned on yet. And eventually hobbies become work wearing casual clothes. Or in my case, Pikachu pajamas right now. So, my small rebellion now is simple. Some things stay off the internet. Some books stay private. Some hobbies stay mine. And I genuinely think more people should do that, because the internet doesn't actually need everything. It doesn't need your soul. It doesn't need you. Even though it acts like it does. There's a strange thing about getting older on the internet, is realizing that privacy is a luxury. And having parts of your life that exist quietly, unrecorded, unoptimized, unshared, And I think it's the best way to protect hobbies that you genuinely love. It's simple. Don't turn it into content. You don't need to. You don't. Not everything needs to be on the internet for public discussion, dissection, or scrutiny. Tell me what you think in the comments below. Bye, guys.